and welcome to this month's free Minecraft Studio class. This month we're going to be covering digital punching. Now it's a feature we've been asked a lot to cover in these free workshops, so we're going to spend a good amount of time just looking at that feature and a few of the different things that we can do. It's a really simple feature to use, but you can actually get a little bit more in depth and create lots of different effects with it. So we'll have a look at that. We're going to be using the Watercolour Wonders artwork, which is a USB that's available on the Highlight Crafts website, and it's also just been uploaded for you to buy as a download as well, so you can craft with it straight away. So if you did want to, that option's there for you as well. And we do have a discount code for you for download, so stay tuned to the end to grab that code. And let's have a look at the digital punch feature. So we'll get to the computer and we'll get started. So here is the Minecraft Studio program. If you're not familiar with this, then I would suggest that you go back and have a look at the first free lesson, because we talk you around everything in that one. So we're just going to get straight into it. So I'm working with Watercolour Wonders, and on that USB we've got some beautiful backing papers. So I'm going to show you just a few different things that we can do. So let's have a look at this particular backing paper here. So here we have a design on the page, and maybe we want to actually take this particular element out. There are multiple ways we can do this with Minecraft Studio. We can actually use the digital scissors to cut it. We can actually crop the design, but Digital Punch gives us a few more options. We find the digital punches above the top toolbar. So you see there's a tab that says Digital Punch. It highlights it when you put your mouse over the top. Click on there, and then we've got all of these stars that appear. Every one of these stars has multiple different designs that you can actually use as a punch, and digital punches work in exactly the same way as your paper punches. So they create a positive and a negative, and we can also do some extra little bits that you can't do physically with a paper punch as well. So we've got all of these different options here. So we've got basic shapes, we've got floral designs, we've got borders, we've got some everyday ones where we've got bird cages, butterflies, we've got birds, we've got fleur-de-lis, we've got a horseshoe in there, we've got flourishes, we've got men's designs, so we've got so we've got some show jumping in there, we've got a crown, very topical for while we're actually recording this. We've got some tools and equipment in there, we've got trains, animals. We've got some designs for some more feminine designs, so you can see we've got some purses, bags, cocktails, a different type of crown, we've got dresses, all kinds of different things in here that we can actually use to create different shapes and different designs using any particular design that we're choosing, whether that's a backing paper from Minecraft Studio, USB or download, or you can even do this with your own photographs if you choose to. Lots and lots of different options. So you can see here's our kids section, so some great fun designs in there. We've got doilies and lace, so lots of different elements there. So we can see we've got all the doilies, we've got torn edges, we've got lace borders, lots and lots of detail in these. We've also got frames in here, and we've got some extra lace designs down at the bottom. So you can see here some really detailed lace designs. We've got really fine ones, and then we've got the decollage shapes to actually coordinate with those designs as well. We have a Christmas section in here as well. So you can see here we've got baubles, we've got angels, we've got bells, candles, Father Christmas, we've got the elves there, we've got holly parcels, not just for Christmas there. We've got the reindeer, but you could use those as stags instead. The parcel, we've got Santa's sleigh, snowflakes. All of these are different punches, and everything that you see me do in this particular class, you can do with every single one of these. We've got hundreds of punches in here for you. We've got corners, you can see here lots of different corners. So if you're doing digital scrapbooking in Minecraft Studio, you can create your own corner design. So photo corners, absolutely perfect. Pop a little drop shadow on and it'll give you a little bit of dimension. And then we've got some frames in here as well, so you can see we've got the frames. So I just clicked on that one, just going to delete that off the page. So as you can see here, I just want to show you some of the frames that we've got as well. So, so lovely designs of frames here, all there ready for you. So we can create our own frames using them, but we have got some that are built in there already. So to work with a digital punch, we actually just click on the design that we want. So let's start with a basic shape. So we'll go with the circle. It's the first one in there. You see it pops it in the top left corner. Now if you are working zoomed into the page, so some people like to zoom in and see quite a lot of detail. So if you are working and you've zoomed in and maybe you're down towards the bottom, you click on the digital punch. So if I click on the heart, you'll see it doesn't look like it's actually appeared on the page. Make sure that you're either zoomed out of the page or you're up at the top, and the punch will always appear in the top left corner. So I'm going to delete that one off the page by pressing the delete button on my keyboard. And then you can see here we've got our punch. Now they are transparent, so you can actually see through, so you can fussy cut the area that you want. So if we wanted to punch this particular design out here, we can just select that one. If we want this one here, we can select that, and we can be really, really particular about the area. We can resize the punches in exactly the same way as we do all of our other images. So you can see we can just click and drag away from the punch to make it bigger and towards it to make it smaller. And we can also use the side handles to distort the design a little bit as well if we wanted to. So we'll just pop this one just here, and we'll just shrink it down a little bit. So we'll come up towards the bottom, and we'll pop it over the top. So there you can see we've got him within there. And we've got two options now. So we can keep the inner or we can keep the outer. And in the top left corner, you'll see we've got those buttons. Inside each button, you'll see that there's actually a little orange area that's highlighted. So you'll see in the keep inner, the little circle, so the area of the punch is highlighted. The outer, the circle is actually greyed out, and the rest of the design is highlighted. So that means that with this one, we're going to keep everything within the circle area of the punch. And on this one, we're going to keep everything outside of the area of the punch. So we'll press the keep inner button, and you'll see the rest of the design has disappeared. So we've digitally punched this design from the backing paper. So that is now a piece of artwork for us to work with in exactly the same way as we do with every other design. We don't have to worry about the artwork disappearing, because the original, as with everything that we do in Microsoft Studio, the original is always over here on the left hand side for you. So you can punch, you can crop, you can tile, you can do everything that you like. And then we've always got the original over here. So everything that we do over here has no impact on whether you've still got the file on your computer. So you can see we've created this now. Very, very simple. That's the basics of using the digital punch. I'm going to go back to the Home tab, and we're going to undo so that we've got the punch back onto the page. So we just go back a few steps, and now we've got the punch and we've got the page there. I'm going to click onto the punch, and we'll keep the outer this time just to show you the difference. So we're going to go back to the digital punch tab, and we're going to select the keep outer button. You see the area within there has disappeared, so the area within the punch has disappeared, so we've created a negative effect. We haven't actually created a white area there, we've created a transparent area. And you can see I've gone slightly over the edge, so we've actually got a gap down the side there, and then we can see that that's transparent. If I take another one of the backing papers from this particular USB, so we'll get this one on here, pop that there, and if I just use the digital punch, if I bring the digital punch to the front, so you can see we've brought the paper on top of the punch. It's as if we've literally put the paper on top of the punch on our cutting mat, so we need to just tuck the paper underneath the punch. If we pop it over this bit here, I'm just going to stretch it up a little bit so that it actually gives us a little bit of room to maneuver, and we'll keep the inner this time. So you can see there, we can keep the inner of that particular design. So go back to the Home tab, undo, undo, so we can either keep the inner or we can keep the outer. All of the different options there, but because we've cut a transparent hole in this paper here, if we pop this one up towards the top, right click and go to order and send it to the back, you can actually pop that design into the hole instead. So we've got all of these different options for you with your digital punching. So I'm just going to clear the page down, and you'll see that we've got lots of different options there. So we'll get another backing paper onto the page, and we'll go with, let's have a look, we'll go with this one here. So I've got this one here with all beautiful, beautiful detail on there, the underwater, so you can see they've got the shells, absolutely beautiful. We're going to go back to the digital punch tab, and we're going to get another basic shape. So we'll go with something different this time. So we'll go with a rectangle. And we'll just create a rectangle aperture in the centre of this particular piece of paper. So you see there, we'll pop that into the centre of the page. And we're going to create an aperture, so that means we want to keep the outer. So we want to get rid of everything inside the punch, keep the outside area. So we press the keep outer button. And then we move the punch, and we've actually created an aperture there. Again, that is transparent. It's not actually white, it's just that the area behind it on the page is white because that's the colour of the canvas. I'm going to go to our borders section now, because we have lots of different borders in here. You can see here we've got all these different ones, but we've got this one here that also almost looks like a wave. Again, it's popped in the top left corner. It's quite a small one, so we just need to bring it down towards the bottom of the page. And I'm just going to pop this into here, and we're going to pop it just there on the edge. And now up on the top left corner, we've also got a button that says fill in. So we've got keep outer and keep inner, which are the ones that do the basics of the digital punching, but the fill in button is one that I've never seen a way of actually recreating this when we're using our physical paper punchers. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to position this just a little bit higher up there so that we've got a little bit more detail showing in the area. And we're going to press the fill in button. Now what this is actually going to do is it's going to take the detail from that backing paper and fill back in the area that we actually punched out. So you can see here we've actually filled in the detail there. So we've no longer got a solid edge on the aperture. So we're going to bring this around here and we're going to rotate it around. So we'll hold down the shift key on the keyboard because that then snaps at 45-degree angle. So you can see that we know we're at a right angle there. I'm going to pop this just onto here, onto this edge here. And I'm going to press the fill in button again. And you'll see again now we've actually created the wave edge on the inside of the aperture. So we'll bring it around this side and we'll rotate again. So again, holding the shift button on the keyboard just to make sure that we actually get the perfect right angle. Press fill in again, and then we'll come down to this side, rotate again, and pop that just into there. So we'll come down here a little bit. So we should pop it in there so that we're just touching the top edge and the bottom edge, and we'll press the fill in button again there. So you can see here we've actually followed the aperture, but we've created a totally different look. So if I now bring on a different backing paper, and so bring this one on and right click, and we'll send that to the back. And I'm going to make that really dark just so that you can see that we've actually created the detail in the aperture there. So you can see there, all of this little detail from that digital punch, we've actually created by filling in on this one layer. Now we haven't created 4 different punches that are separate pieces here. This layer is still one piece of backing paper because the graphics program has actually filled back in the area that was within that wave punch that we've created there. Now it's a flourish wave, but I actually really like the way that it works with this particular seascape design. And this is where we can actually get really, really creative with Minecraft Studio because you don't have to see the designs as they are, because once you've punched it back in, with the detail of the design that's actually in there, it gives you a totally different look. Regardless of whichever image you're using, it'll give you the same shape. But because this has got the seascape on, it looks like waves. If we were working with something with foliage, then it would look like a leaf border. And that's what I love about digital punches. They take on the detail of the design that's actually been used to create them. So I'm just going to clear the page down. So I'm going to delete that one. I'm actually going to save this file. So in fact, I will undo. So I will press Ctrl and Z on my keyboard and get the black one back behind there because I want to save that particular file. So to save a file in Minecraft Studio, we go back to the Home tab, we press Save As, and then we can save as a JPEG, a PNG, or a Minecraft Studio file. So I'm going to call it Aperture Frame. In fact, we'll call it Wave Aperture Frame so that we know which one it is. And we'll save it as I'll save this one as a JPEG. And then we'll also save it as a Minecraft Studio file. And what that gives us the option to do is to actually come back and edit the file. But also with the JPEG, we can then just print it out as it is, and we can actually use it on our project. But we can also remove this one from the background and actually save that as a JPEG there with the white area in the center. We can save it transparent as well, so it would actually then you would be able to use Mel's video, which is on our YouTube channel, to create a cutting file from this to actually cut that aperture on your scan and cut as well. So many different options within the digital punch feature. So I'm just going to close this page down and open up a new one. So we're just going to cancel that and we'll get rid of the grid and the ruler so that it's easier for you guys at home to see. We're going to go back to the files and I'm going to go to one of our texture papers now in the Watercolour Wonders USB. So we're going to go with this one here. Really beautiful paper. I love this particular design. It's just so versatile and so usable. And we'll have a look at this one with the digital punches. So we've got our borders on here, and I wanted to show you that we don't have to just use them as simple borders. So if I just come up here and click on this one here, you can see that it's quite a small border, but we're actually going to punch it as it is. So we're going to keep the inner area, and you see the rest of the page has disappeared, but we've just got that little tiny detail there. I'm going to delete the punch off the page, and I'm going to click onto the design. Now when we right click, we can actually tile the design. So you can see we've got tile and toggle tile. We could go back to the home tab and press the tile button if we wanted to. But you can see here we can actually tile this design to create a full A4 sheet of that particular area of that particular document. So it's a really beautiful foliage design there. You can see we've got a little bit of colour variation in there because of the backing paper that we actually pulled it from, which is this one here. But if I now bring this paper on and right click and send it to the back, you'll see we've got a really beautiful texture over the top of our paper, but because it's actually taken from this particular area, it looks as if it's actually blending out from there, but then it perfectly coordinates. So you can see we've got that particular option there. I'm going to move this particular one to the side and we're going to bring that border on again. So the same border, we're just going to stretch it up. I'm just going to stretch it to about halfway across the page and we'll keep the inner again. So again, we'll delete the punch off the page, right click, tile and toggle tile. So we'll just pull this one over here and just to the edge of the page, and then we'll pull it down again. And then if I bring the paper on again and right click, go order and send it to the back, because again we've just pulled this on. It's literally like we've pulled another sheet of paper onto our desktop and just popped it straight over the top of our cutting mat. So we've tucked it behind the punch that we've just done there, and that gives us a different look. So you can see we've actually got a bit more of the colour, making it a bit more obvious. And again, this top corner looks like it's blending out because of the way that the punch actually works with the design, and it pulls those exact pixels from the design to give an exact replica. So we're going to pop this one over to this side. So that's two different sizes that we've done with the same punch. So we're going to go back and we're going to get that border again. And this time we'll make it the full width of the page. So we're going to keep the inner, and then we'll delete that one from the page. Right click, tile and toggle tile. Now remember, you can do this with any of the punches that are built into the Microsoft Studio Graphics program. So there we've got our beautiful design there. So you can see it's literally just tiled that exact one from the top and it just replicated it all the way down the page. So this time when we bring the page on, we'll have another different look. So if I just bring this one on here, right click, order and send it to the back, you see we've got a really soft detail look in there because the blues are just blending in here a little bit more and the pinks are blending in here, but then towards the center, we've just got the colours and the tonal areas from this particular band across the top just pulled all the way down the paper, and it gives us a really soft, almost a stenciled look on the paper there. Really, really beautiful. And then we're just going to do one more last one here. So if I go back to the borders, bring the same one on again. This time I'm going to pull it down and I'm going to rotate it around. Again, when I rotate around, I can press the shift button on my keyboard and you'll see it snaps to 45 degrees and then to 90 degrees. So we're going to pop it just over to this side here and we'll stretch it this way and we'll keep the inner again. Get rid of the punch from the page, just pressing the delete button on my keyboard, or you've got the delete button within Microsoft Studio. We're going to go to tile, toggle tile again, and we're going to pull this across here. So this time we've got a full blue patterned backing paper, and I love the way that this one looks like it's been stenciled because it gives us so much variation when we're actually using it with different designs, because you can just print this onto vellum or onto paper and it will look as if you've actually done a stencil, especially with this particular design because it's got such beautiful watercolour texture on there. It almost looks like you've been inking and stenciling with a dusting brush. So if I go to this one and right click and send it to the back, you see there we've got another different look to the design. But if I right click and flip the paper, you see we've got a different look again, because if I flip the paper back, over on this side, this is the exact same area that we took that punch from. So you can't actually see the punch there. It just literally starts to pull in just when we get to this area, because each one of these punches is from this section of the paper. So this one here you can't see and it just looks like it's blending out. But if we right click and send this one to the, and we flip again, so flip the backing paper, you'll see that actually, because we've taken this area of the design, but we've flipped it, now we've actually got a little bit of stencil look over this side as well. Really, really beautiful and just something a little bit different. So we've actually got 4 different ways of using the same punch there. And remember, every single one of these punches can be any size up to A4. So that punch that we brought on, So I'll bring it on again. You'll see the punch, when we bring it onto the page, it tells me down at the bottom the size of the punch. So it tells me that this is 5.29 centimetres by 0.77 centimetres, and in inches, that is actually just over 2 inches by 0.3 inches. So it's really, really small. But then when we actually rotate it around and bring it around to this side here, so bring it to there and stretch it up to fill the page, we have actually converted that punch into one that is 11.5 inches by 1.69 inches. If I go to centimetres again, that is 29.39 centimetres by 4.28 centimetres. And we can have any increment that we want in between those measurements. So you can see, you can have this punch any size that you like. And one of my favourite things is that we can actually then start to mix and match these designs. So we can put this one over the top of the previous one. We can bring the little tiny one in and pop that one over the top if you wanted to. So you can get really, really busy with your designs. Or we can actually just pop that one over to one side and pop this one over the top instead. And we can be mixing and matching these particular designs as much as we like. And because you can save the file. So again, I'm going to save this file, and we're going to save it as a Minecraft Studio file. So we'll call it leaf border punch. So we'll save it as an MCSX file, because that's the version that we can actually use to come back and edit, because I'd actually still got this particular design over the edge there, so we can actually come back and move it and then print it if you don't want that particular look. And then we can also come back in later and we can then change that paper to look like this one, and we can save that one. So we'll save that one as a JPEG. So we'll go JPEG Pro Quality and we'll call it Leaf Border Punch. And that's a JPEG that we've just saved. So we can come back in and we can do this one. And we can go to the effects and we can soften the edges of this one. So we'll come back down and soften the edges. So you see we're just blending in the edges a little bit more there. So we just soften it just around the outside edge. And we can do save as, and we can save that one as a JPEG as well. So we'll save that one. So that'll be Leaf Border Punch 2. So you've got all of these different options. So I'm just literally saving these files for a point in the future where I may want to print them. I don't have to print them. You can see we can create all of these different options. You can create as many different options as you like on the one file. Save the file, save it to your computer, to a hard drive, to a USB stick, and then you can actually come back in and choose which one you want to print. And this is what I love. I love to just sit and play with the graphics program, because it gives you so much variety, but also when you actually sit and play, it makes you realize how into depth you can actually get and how much more detail you can get, rather than just literally doing one digital punch, printing it out, and that's it. Sometimes I like to just sit in the evenings and just play with the graphics program and just create myself just a stash of files, which is what I did when I was creating this one, when I was actually getting ready to do the show originally when it was on TV. So we're just going to clear that page down. So we can either press select all up at the top and delete, or we can click on the cross on the page and OK, and we then just create a new page by clicking on the plus on the new in the corner. And again, I'm going to remove the grid and the ruler just so that we've got rid of those there. So we're going to create a different look now. So we're still going to be playing with the tile, but what I want to do is go back to the files and we'll grab another backing paper. So we'll go with, let's go back into the backing papers folder, and we'll go with this one here with the hummingbirds. Some gorgeous colours in this one. And we'll go to Digital Punch again. And I'm going to go to one of the frames and we'll just grab one of these. So there's a beautiful scallop circle there. So we'll get this frame, and I'm actually going to punch out some of the detail down here. So we're just going to go, actually we'll get this little bit in the centre. So we'll go just in there. So just going to punch this bit of detail just in here. And we're going to go keep inner. So you can see the rest of the page has disappeared. So we'll delete the punch from the page. Just going to pop this into the top corner. I'm going to shrink it down in size a little bit. And then we're going to go back to the home tab and we're going to tile this particular design. So we're going to press the tile button and we're going to create a full backing paper of that particular element. So this is a piece from a backing paper that we've created another backing paper with. What we're also going to do is we're going to right click and copy and right click and paste. So we've now got 2 of them on the page. But what we can do now is we can actually offset this one to create another layer on the design, and we can actually create a gorgeous geometric pattern there. But what we can also do now is we can bring the backing paper back on. So this is the original one. Remember, this piece has been created from this area in the center. So we can bring the backing paper on, and then we can pop it over the top. We'll go to the effects tab, we'll use the opacity to fade it down. So remember, the opacity, when it's at 100, it is completely solid and opaque, so you can't see through it. When we reduce it, it becomes less opaque, so it becomes transparent, and you can actually see the design through. So you can see there we've actually started to create, it's kind of more of a rice paper style design on this one here. So you can see we can have the paper on top really soft, or we can just have the detail underneath just appearing through. One of the things that we can also do, if we go to the Layers tab and click on the little box at the side of one of the backing papers underneath that we've created, we can then come back to the effects and use the softer edges to fade those edges in a little bit. And then if we go back to the layers and get the next one, so remember we had 2 layers on there where we actually created that backing paper, and then use the softer edges on that one, you'll see that we've actually then faded down the edges so that we've not got a solid line where that pattern finishes. We've blended it in, and we've actually created an amazing blend of layers around there, and you actually don't know where one layer starts and another one ends. So this gives you a totally different look again. So all we did was take this little bit from the center of this backing paper and create our own design in the background, layer the paper over the top, and reduce the opacity. So this has given us another way of using our digital punches. So again, let's save this file because we can do that. So we'll call this hummingbird paper, and we'll save that one as a JPEG. So click on JPEG Pro Quality, press the save button, and then we save that particular file. So we can come back and we can then change the design as well. So if I just clear the page down, so we'll select everything, press the delete button, and then we'll go to Files, and we'll go into Documents, and we'll see that hummingbird paper there. You can see here, so now this is one paper that is one flat layer in the same way as all of those papers that we've got on the USBs for you. So like this backing paper here has been created to coordinate with this one. So if you're doing some matting and layering, and maybe you're wanting to work with this one as well, because this is the one that was used to create the very soft wash in the background, you've then got this one that you've created yourself that you've saved. We can come back in and we can rainbow the colours on this design as well. So we can do all of the colour changes that we do with everything else in Minecraft Studio with this particular design really, really quickly and simply because we've saved it as our own file. So we're going to clear the page down and we'll have a look at something else. Who knew there was this much you could do with digital punches? So we're now going to go to our embellishments folder. So you can see here we've got these gorgeous embellishments, and we've got lots and lots of different designs in here. And we're going to go with, let's have a look at this one here. So here's our polar bear again. Just going to bring it onto the page. You can see it's got a lovely, almost it's like an antique gold, almost a brass frame around him. So this is our embellishment that looks like a cabochon when it's printed. However, if we change the colour, you'll see that it changes the colour of the frame, but it also changes the colour of the inside section. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and copy, and right click and paste. We also have the copy and paste buttons up towards the top left as well, so you can use those if you choose to. For this one, we need to make sure that we are working on the top layer. So I'm going to click off and just click onto the top layer, so that one is highlighted in there. So we're going to go to the Digital Punch tab. We're going to go to Basic Shapes, and we're going to find our square, which is obviously quite a way down. So the punches are in alphabetical order in your little drop downs. So we're going to go to the square, bring it over the top of the design here, and then we're going to resize it so that it fits just over the design there without encroaching on the frame. So you can see we've just done that there. And then we're going to keep the outer this time because I want to remember what I want to do is change the colour of the frame. So we're going to keep the outer because I don't want the area within the punch on this particular layer. So you can see there in my layers panel now, the centre area has disappeared, but the bottom layer still got all of the detail. So we're going to delete the punch, and then we're going to click on the top layer because that's the one that we're working with. So now when we go to the Effects tab, we're going to change the colour, but it's only going to change the colour of that top layer, so we can actually get our frame to coordinate perfectly with the design that we've actually got on there. We can brighten it a little bit if we wanted to, so we can make it a bit more pastel to coordinate. But you can see we've actually then just changed the colour of the frame. We're not doing any magic trickery. If I switch that top layer off, you'll see that the frame is still there on the bottom layer. But you can see here we've actually changed the colour of the frame, and then the design, it appears that we've changed the colour on that particular, on the bottom layer. Again, we can switch the layers on and off, and we can see that that's actually the effect that we've created just by using a digital punch to take the centre out of that top layer. So again, we can save these files. So we're going to save this one as an MCS file. So we'll call it embellishment frame, and we'll save that as a Minecraft Studio file. So that means that we can come back in later. So we will close that file down. So yes, we want to close it, and then we'll open up there. You can see there, so we'll press the open button rather than going into a new file, and we'll call it embellishment frame. So we click on that one there, open the file. There it is. We've still got both layers, and we can switch the top layer on and off as we choose. I'm just going to remove the grid and the ruler so it's easy for you to see. But again, we can just come back in and we can click on the top layer, go to the effects. It's already, the colour slider is already where we left it, so it already knows exactly the colour shade that we wanted. But maybe this time we want to have a pink frame around it. We can do that. We can come back in and we can edit the file. And this is as simple as it gets with Minecraft Studio. You can see it's literally just clicking and dragging and then just saving the files as you go along. Lots and lots of different things we can do here. So we're going to move on to the next one. So I'm going to close that one down because we're working on the embellishment frame document there. So we'll close that one down. No, we don't want to make any, save the changes. We'll go to a new file. We click on grid and ruler. And then we're actually going to use two different digital punches on one document to create a totally new file. So you can see here we've got this beautiful elephant backing paper. I'm going to right click and copy and right click and paste so that I've got two of these on the page. So copy and paste. We'll go to the layers tab. You can see that we've actually got two of them on there. So I'm going to click on the top one because I need to make sure that when I'm working with a digital punch, I'm working with the layer that is directly underneath the punch. So we've clicked on the top one. That is the box that's highlighted at the moment. So we're going to go to the digital punch tab and we're going to go to basic shapes. We're going to bring back on the square. We could do this with the rectangle or any other shape that we wanted to. I'm going to pop this one just here. I'm going to stretch it so that it covers the elephant just like so. So you can see here we're not actually quite covering him at the top, but we're actually going to select the keep inner button. So when I click off the bottom layer, you'll see we've actually just punched that particular area. So what I'm also going to do now is bring on a different digital punch shape. So I'm going to go back into my basic shapes tab, and for this one I'm going to bring on one of these lovely shapes. So we'll go with shape 4 there. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that this punch is exactly the same width as this punch. So we click onto this one, and down at the bottom it actually tells us what size this is. So it tells us it's 10.94 centimeters wide. So if I click on this one here and click into the width box and put type on my keyboard 10.94 and then press enter on my keyboard, it's important that you press enter after you finish typing your numbers, then you can see that that punch is now exactly the same width as this one. So if we pop this one just over the top here, delete the square digital punch, and then what I need to do, because at the moment, remember, that punch is straight over the top of the one that we've already punched. It's straight over the top of that one. So what I need to do is bring this, the full sheet back forwards a layer, because I need nothing in between the two layers. Imagine if we were to punch this paper whilst we've got this one in there, it would actually punch into that design. So we need to bring this one to the front. So we're going to right click, go to order, and we're going to bring it to the front, and then we're going to send it backwards by one layer so that it's behind the punch and there is nothing at all in between. Now I didn't need to do that because I've only got 2 layers on the page. If I'd got multiple layers on the page, I would always bring it right to the front and send it back by one layer, because you know it is absolutely the next layer behind the punch. So we're going to click on the punch and we're going to select keep inner. So now when I delete that punch, we've actually created a tag shape using 2 different digital punches. They are 2 separate layers at the moment, so you can see they're actually 2 separate pieces of artwork at the moment. We can group them together, we can go to home, we can select all, and we can group them together, and it will actually make them so that they do move at the same time. But something that we can also do is save the file. Now if I make this page transparent by going to the brushes tab and clicking on the constants and transparent and pressing the set button, you'll see that we can make the page transparent, but it is still an A4 page. So I'm going to go back to white and press the set button, and we do cover all of these little bits that I'm doing that aren't related to the digital punch in the first couple of free classes, so please make sure you refer back to those if there's anything that you're not sure about when we're doing this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the print tab and I'm going to change my page size. So I'm going to change my page size down to A5, and I'm going to stretch up my design so that it actually fits into the A5 page. I'm then going to make my page transparent because I don't necessarily want a full A4 tag. So we're going to press the set button and make it transparent. So now when we go to the home tab and save as, instead of choosing JPEG, we're going to choose PNG, and then we're going to call it elephant tag. So we've saved that file now. And then if I just make the page white again, so again back to the constant, press white and press set. I'm also going to make the page A4 again so that we've got that there. I'm going to delete this off the page, and then we're going to go to the home tab. I'm going to go to the files, and we're going to go back up to documents, which is where we saved the file. And there you can see we've got our elephant tag, which is there ready for us, and it doesn't have all the extra space around the edge that we need to actually to remove. But you can see there that this is our file. This is a single file, and we've actually created a GIF tag using our digital punches. But what we can also do with this now is we can go into the digital punch, we can select the basic shapes, we can select a circle, we can pop this in here. I'm just going to zoom into the page so that you can see what I'm doing. So we'll pop this on here, pop this little circle just up there, pop it into the center, and then we can keep the outer because we want to keep everything outside of that punch. And we've actually now created a hole in our GIF tag, which we can then use to, see that's a transparent hole, so you can see there's nothing in there. So if you were to cut these files on your scan and cut using Mel's techniques, remember there's a video on your YouTube channel for that, then you could actually cut this tag out and scan and cut would cut the little hole for you. But if you don't want to do that and you're wanting to cut these out by hand, then simply use a single hole punch, or if you've got an office hole punch, then that will do the job for you just as well. So that was actually combining your digital punches. So one of the questions we do get a lot is, can I make my own digital punches? And technically the answer is no, because you can't create a file that is a digital punch. But what you can do is you can actually combine your digital punches to create different shapes that actually then give you the result that you want. So have a little think outside the box. There's lots of different shapes that we can put at the top of this particular one. There's a scalloped circle, so we could have a scalloped edge to this particular one. We could just have a triangular tag, lots and lots of different shapes. So you can see in here, all of these different shapes. We could have, we could just pop a circle on there. So you've got a curved edge, a scalloped one. You've got the scalloped square, so you could pop that on there. All of these different shapes. If you wanted to have this one instead, you could actually rotate it around or just squish it and have a shaped tag instead. All of these different options are just there for you in the program, just ready for you to actually play with. If you wanted to have a pointed edge, then you could actually just get an extra layer of backing paper, pop this one on, and then punch it a couple of times and flip one, and then you've got a pointed tag as well. So you've got lots and lots of different ways of using the digital punches here. So that is something that we've been very excited to show this one, because it's actually something we've been asked a huge amount recently, because there's so many new people getting involved with Minecraft Studio that they're asking how to make their own digital punches. So here you can see that we can actually just create a different shape using the digital punches that are already there. And we're going to do something a little bit different now. So we're going to go into our texture folder, and we're going to go with, let's have a look, we'll go with this one here. So here's our texture paper. So I'm going to zoom out so that we can see all of the page just to make sure it's lined up there. And we're going to right click and copy, right click and paste. And again, I'm going to make sure that I'm clicking onto the top layer because that's the one that we want to work with. And then we're going to bring our digital punch on. Again, we've got 2 layers on here and we need to make sure that our punch is on top of the area that we're actually working with. So we're going to go to word plaques and we're going to pick, well, let's have a look. So we've got lots of different sentiments in here. We've got great news, happy anniversary, happy birthday, retirement. We'll go with, oh, so many different options. Let's just go with thanks. So we'll pop this onto the page. And I'm just going to stretch this up so it's quite large. So you can see here, we've actually filled the page pretty much with that word plaque. So we're going to keep the inner on this particular design. So I'm going to press the keep inner button up at the top because I want to keep everything inside the purple area. And then we're going to delete the punch off the page. Again, I'm pressing the button on my keyboard to delete that, but you can go back to the home tab and press the delete button there. If I switch off the back layer, you'll see that that's what we've actually created. And this is the best way, so switching your layers on and off is the best way of seeing what you've actually done without moving it. Because, I mean, you can always undo if you do move it, but you switch the layers on and off and you can see exactly what you've created. Now, what I want to do now is make sure that, again, we're working with that top layer. That means that this one's highlighted in the Layers tab, but also in on the page, you'll see that the boxes are inside the edges of the full sheet because we're working with the one in the center. Now we're going to go to the Effects tab here, and we're actually going to increase the brightness of this particular layer. And you'll see there that then actually looks like we've stenciled the design onto there. So you can see we can go all the way up to bright white, or we can just have it with a little bit of detail on there. And you can see it just looks really, really lovely. But one of the things that we've got at the moment is this solid edge around there. So if we come back down to our softer edges, you'll see that we can soften those edges and it actually looks like we've been stenciling with some of our inks with, you know, maybe we stenciled with some bleach on there, all kinds of different options. So if I bring the brightness back down, so if I take that back to 0 by typing in that box and pressing enter, you see it looks like it's disappeared. It is still there. One of the other things that we can do is use the bleach feature to give us a different effect. So this actually bleaches out the lighter colours and brings in the darker colours. So it gives us a slightly different effect. We can also change the colour of that particular area. So you can see we're actually changing the colour of that one top layer just to give us another different effect. So again, it looks as if we've been stenciling in a different colour of ink. If we use the rainbow slider, you'll see that we actually get a different effect again because we've got the reds and the yellows in there. So it actually kaleidoscopes those colours through the design. And we can also take the saturation down, so we can make it so that we've actually used some black ink on there. We can make it more vibrant and intense as well. So you can see we're just adding some extra colour in there. So we take that back down there. If we use the colour boost slider, we can add in or take out some of the reds, we can take out some of the greens and blues, all of these different options just to give you the different elements within this particular design. So you can see there, if I press 0 and enter, and 0 and enter there, and then we go back up to the brightness, again, it looks as if we've actually been stenciling with some white paint on there, or maybe we've been spritzing or watercolouring through a stencil and we've created a negative effect. So I just love this particular design. So you can see there we've just created that with the word design. But if we just delete that one off the page, we can right click, copy and paste, bring on a different word plaque digital punch. So we can go with, just grab a different one. Well, we can do this with any of the punches, to be honest with you. So we can go with, we'll go with best wishes. Pop that one up there and we'll just do the same again. So we will keep the inner. Again, it looks like we've done nothing because we've got the layers on there, but we see we've got the 2 different layers. So if we click that one off and click it back on again and back into the effects, again, use the brightness, you can see that we've actually got that same effect with that particular sentiment. And we can do this with all of those different sentiments, but we can also do it with the, again, I'm going to copy and paste the backing paper and we'll go with one of the doilies. So we'll come back up to one of the more detailed doilies. So we'll go with this one here and we'll pop that one on there, and we will keep the inner of that one. So delete the digital punch, make sure we select the top layer. So click the area where the punch was to select it, or go into your layers and actually select it there. Again, you can see if we switch that one off, but then we go back to the brightness and we can actually bleach the doily into the center there as well. And again, because we've still got that pattern within this particular design, because it's taken from the backing paper, it gives us that same amount of tint and same detail in there. So where we've actually got this, if I go to the layers tab, you see if I switch off that one, in this area here, we've got this little darker little patch of shade, and then we've got some lighter up here. But this one here actually then shows through because we're using this exact same paper. So we keep the tonal areas, which is why it looks as if we've actually been doing some spritzing, some inking and some blending onto the one backing paper. And I love the fact that we can do this with our digital punches because it gives us another look completely. So again, we can come down and we can bleach this design as well. So we can actually get a slightly, we need to make sure we clicked onto the design. So we'll come back, we'll go take the brightness back to 0. So it looks as if it's disappeared again, but then we come back down to the bleach and we just create a different look. So you can see with the bleach, it actually takes out it deepens the darker areas and lightens the paler areas. So it gives us a slightly different look. So I love the fact that it looks like we've actually got maybe a little bit of a mist stencil in there, but actually we can also move this stencil down here. So we can pop that down there. We can go back to the home tab, we can tile it, and then we can actually pull this design up to create another different look on this page. And if I go back to the opacity and reduce that down a little bit, we can blend that in softly into the backing paper to give us a different look. So I'm hoping that you've actually learned something new with digital punches, because I've actually really enjoyed revisiting the digital punch feature. There's so much that we can do with this particular one. If I just undo a few times here, you'll see that we can actually go back and see some of the different elements that we created there. So kind of keep going back. So, and then again, I'm just going to copy and paste this. And we've got all of these different digital punches. Every one of these, we can do everything that we've just seen with. So we can create the bleach effects with these designs. We can create them with the basic shapes, the borders. So again, we'll do the same with this one. So we'll go back to this border here. So we will keep the inner, delete that one there, make sure that we've clicked onto the top layer, and we'll tile that one. So again, back to the home tab, press the tile button, tile it all the way down. It gives us another look. So that's the same border that we looked at originally with the other paper. But then if we come back into the effects tab and brighten it, it gives us another look completely. And then we soften the edges. So it looks as if we've been really creative with our inks and papers and stencils, but actually all we've done is a little bit of digital punching on a computer. We haven't got inky, we haven't got messy. If you love doing that and that's your thing, I love it too, then absolutely that's for you. But if it's not your thing, but you love the look of it, you can actually create it in Micro Studio. But also you can create it digitally, and if you're wanting to go on holiday and do a little bit of crafting, then maybe you want to print out some designs that look like you've done the inking, or maybe you actually want to, when you're on holiday, maybe you want to sit and play with Micro Studio on your laptop and create lots of files. There's so many different options within the digital punch feature. Now, I really do hope that you've learned something today. I've had great fun prepping this particular free class. So please do let me know. Pop your questions down below, and any particular features you want to see a dedicated class for. We are working through the features. There's so many that we've got planned for you in the coming months. But anything particular you want to see, anything that you've seen on one of the shows, maybe you've seen David do something and you want him to do a little video for you, absolutely comment below, and we will get around to it for you at some point. Now, going back to the start of the lesson, what we actually talked about was a discount code for the downloads. So you can see here we've actually got the discount code DL30. and that will give you 30% off the Micro Studio downloads on the Highlight Crafts website. Now we've got loads of downloads on there for you. We've got scene building for 2 Red Robins, we've got the watercolour wonders we've just looked at, we've got Christmas extravaganza, floral extravaganza, so many different ones. Now the code is actually valid from the 3rd of May till midnight on the 17th of May. And you can use it as many times as you like, and you will get 30% off all of your Micro Studio downloads. Now that's really exciting because I think it was last week, Sean uploaded a huge amount of our USBs onto the website as downloads, because we know some people, I know sometimes it costs a lot of money to ship them overseas, and some people just want to get crafting straight away. So jump on the website, highlightcrafts.com. Make sure you're registered as a Club Highlight member, because you will earn your loyalty points as well. Yeah, have a look at the downloads. But please do let me know if you know what you learned, and send in your images to the Facebook group or to help@highlightcrafts.com when you've actually been crafting with your digital punches in Micro Studio. I can't wait to see what you've created, and I can't wait to see you again next month with something else. Let's keep crafting with Micro Studio, and yeah, keep sharing the love. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button. Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notifications of our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.